in, everybody, to PEC Match Point. We've had a crazy year so far. We're nearly 2/3 of the way through the fall semester. This is your premier destination for everything Power Esports Conference. We've got highlights, scores, interviews. You're not going to want to miss it this week from one of the directors of the best teams in the PEC. All of that is coming up on PEC Match Point. A big shout out to the Idaho Air National Guard. And let's get into what we're talking about today, because there is a lot that has happened since last week in the PEC. Again, we'll go around the PEC like we do every week. Highlights from last week's action. Couple of big upsets, some power movement. You're definitely going to see everything that happened if you missed it. We'll go inside the PEC. It's Ohio State. Sorry, the Ohio State. I got to make sure I say that addition. They're number one in VALORANT, number one in Overwatch, and they're lurking in Rocket League. Plus, maybe they have a new rival. We'll hear from their director, John, tell us all about it. And then we'll look ahead to Week 6, couple of massive matchups. And we go inside the numbers for VALORANT. Absolutely crazy performances by one of Ohio State's players. We'll get into all of that and more on PEC Match Point. But let's start things off. What happened in Week 5? We start off with Rocket League. Boise State and Kansas. The Broncos looking to get back on track after a 3-0 sweep by Baylor last week. And the Broncos make quick work of Kansas. A dominant 3-0 sweep. Boise State outscored the Jayhawks 10-2 in the series. Preston leading the way, 6 goals to go along with 5 saves. The win allows Boise State to keep pace with Michigan State for second place in the standings at 3-1. Unfortunately for the Jayhawks, they fall down to 2-3, but there's a logjam in that middle of the standings, so they're right there on top of it. Moving on to Michigan State. They were trying to keep pace with Boise State of their own. They pulled off a 3-0 sweep over Minnesota. The Spartans turned an even more dominant performance than Boise State. A pair of shutouts meant they only allowed 1 goal all series. All 3 Spartans scored at least 4 goals. Morvu led the way with 6. Warpie scored the lone goal for Minnesota, but again, a dominant performance from this Michigan State team. However, everybody is chasing Baylor. The Bears are undefeated, and they maybe got a challenge here. Syracuse did get them to a Game 4. The Orange have been dominant, but haven't quite been able to put their wins together. The Bears had a goal and 3 assists from Andy in that Game 4, slammed the door on chances of any Orange comeback. Tiz Rocket League did have 5 goals and 6 saves for the Orange. And again, there's this logjam at the middle of the standings. We'll take a look at those in just a second. The Orange and Kansas, they're both there as well. But maybe the series of the week was Nebraska taking on Utah. Nebraska looking to find some momentum after their first win of the season last week. The Cornhuskers took Utah to a Game 5, and this series was crazy tight. No game was decided by more than 2 goals. 4 of them were decided by only 1. In the end, Nebraska prevails with a 4-3 win, led by Mincy, who had 2 goals in the series winner there. As you see, lots of sweeps, but some big action there at the bottom. Ohio State, they're on a bye. And now as we take a look at the standings, it is absolutely logjam. Right, Baylor, they're 5-0. They're beating everybody. Michigan State and Boise State, the national champ for the Broncos and the runner-up for the Spartans, they're right there. And then look at the middle. Ohio State, Syracuse, Nebraska, Kansas, all separated by a half a game for that 4th spot. Utah, who was really close, nearly took down Nebraska. They're right there. And then Minnesota rounds things out at 0-4. If we get into Overwatch, though, this is where noise was made. You see that score at the top. That is the defending champion Broncos falling. We'll get to that in just a moment. We start, though, with Utah. Last week, the Utes had a season-redefining Game 5 win. They were able to pick up their 2nd straight with a 3-0 win over Nebraska. Some dominant performances. All 5 players for Utah had at least 37 kills. No Sam 4055 led the way with a 52-10-9 performance. The win puts the Utes at 2-2 and right back in the hunt again. This is a team everybody thought was going to be dominant. Their 2nd straight win means they're right back in it. Syracuse, they got back on track after their first loss of the year last year. The Orange took down Baylor 3-0. They now are 3-1. They're in a tie with Kansas for 2nd place. Baylor, the Bears, they're going to go down to 1-3. They've been very close at times. They're just looking for that spark. I think this is a team that could make some noise as we go on in the PEC. But the shockwave heard round the PEC is Boise State, Kansas. Again, the Broncos are the defending champs. The Jayhawks, they had a stunning loss to Utah last week, and they were able to take down Boise State with a dominant 3-1 performance. It did go 5 maps, as we did actually tie on Blizzard World. The Broncos now find themselves at 1-2, and they're all the way down in 6th place. Again, the series goes 5 maps. The Jayhawks had an absolutely amazing performance. 3 Jayhawks led the way with over 100 eliminations. My dog died, had 125 of his own. And in the end, the Jayhawks were able to take down Boise State, and this is what it sounded like.
You now have to be perfect and try to find 2 quick kills of your own, but it's not gonna happen. They don't have a they do have a touch from Maxall here. Do they have anything else? The mine's coming out here, but that surely cannot be it for them. It's not gonna matter. There goes Strider. The touches continue desperately fighting. The beat though, but it's only for 2 of them.
Just as a ton of stall. You see it.
They just can't stay alive that long for their team.
Massive win here. We take a look at the standings. Ohio State, they're on a bye. They're 4-0. Kansas and Syracuse now at 3-1. Minnesota also on a bye. They're at 2-1. The Utes, look out for Utah. 2-2. They've won 2 in a row. All the way down in 6th place, as I mentioned, is the defending national champs, Boise State. Do not count this team out. They've still got a couple of big matches, including against Ohio State in a few weeks. And then Baylor and Nebraska, they round out the bottom half of Overwatch. But nobody expected Overwatch to look like this 5 weeks in. For Valorant, again, Ohio State was on a bye. Everybody's trying to chase down the Buckeyes, who are 4-0. And Utah and Nebraska kicked things off with a banger series. 3rd time this year, by the way. Nebraska has needed all 3 maps in their series, but unfortunately, Map 3 did not go their way after a 14-12 epic Game 2, a 29-kill performance from Gotti to force a winner-take-all on Ascent for the Cornhuskers. Utah got another clutch performance from Superman and cost FPS. They took the series, and the Utes moved to 3-1. Syracuse and Baylor squared off in a series featuring 2 teams looking to build on something as we wind down the fall semester, and it was a battle between Stomp and Truth Messenger. Stomp for Syracuse, Truth Messenger for Baylor. Both had over 60 kills in the series. Stomp had the clutch 22-13 scoreline on Map 3, and that allowed Syracuse to grab their first win of the year. But honestly, look out for Truth Messenger. This guy's putting up stats you would not believe, and it's only a matter of time before Baylor gets on board and starts winning games. Michigan State and Minnesota met in a Big Ten face-off as the Spartans hope to keep pace with the top of the league. It was a 2-0. Got a bit dicey for Michigan State on Map 2. Lemur with 24 kills helped the Spartans outlast Paper Grenades with a near-heroic comeback, 13-11 on the final map. And the win puts the Spartans at 3-1, and they are in a tie for 3rd place. Again, this is the defending champs, and they're only in 3rd place. And Boise State and Kansas, they faced off with the Broncos, looking to keep pace with Ohio State at 4-0, and Boise State did not miss a single step. A quick 2-0 that saw 4 Broncos score at least 30 kills. Absolutely insane performance from them. They took care of the Jayhawks. The Jayhawks fell down 2-3, and Boise State picked up the win in front of a very electric home crowd.
He's got the information. He knows how to play it. The ping, such good movement. Now he has a chance to get on the spike. Pops it. Skelesis 1v1. What can you do? Headshot. Peeking. Jiggles. Takes the fight. Can he get it? Skelesis toying with his food. And he wins the game. That's just cruel. A cruel way to...
Absolutely amazing, and there's a reason for the Boise fans to be that jacked up. As we see here at the top of the standings is Boise State and Ohio State. Absolutely crazy, by the way. These 2 schools have the exact same record, down to the rounds won and rounds lost. It is a deadlock tie for 1st place. Utah and Michigan State, they are right there, both at 3-1. The Utes kind of quietly making a lot of noise. Kansas at 2-3, Minnesota at 1-3, Baylor, Nebraska, and Syracuse all at 1-4. But again, Baylor and Syracuse have some very talented players. I would not be shocked if those 2 schools make some noise later on in the fall or maybe in the spring. Finally, we wrap up the week with Smash, and it has been Big Ten across the board. They are dominating the performance, and we had another Big Ten face-off that we need to talk about. But we'll start things off with Kansas and Boise State, a battle of 1 and 2 teams, hoping to keep pace at the top of the standings, and the Jayhawks took care of business with a 2-0 sweep, winning 13-8, 14-8. The win gets Kansas back to 500, and within striking distance of 4th place. Meanwhile, Boise State, they're right on their heels. They're still 1-3. There's still a lot of time for Boise State to turn things around. Baylor and Syracuse faced off as the Orange are the lone remaining team trying to stop that Big Ten domination, and the Orange made sure that Baylor would not be pulling off any upsets. A 14-7, 14-9 sweep moved Syracuse to 3-1. For the Baylors, the Bears had some bright spots, but still looking for that first PEC win of Smash for this year. And then for the 2nd straight week, Minnesota found themselves in a Big Ten clash atop the standings, this time taking on Michigan State. After an epic series last week against Nebraska, though, Minnesota unfortunately was quickly dispatched by the Spartans. Michigan State won this series 16-6, 14-8, dropping only 1 set all series. The win pushes Spartans into a tie with Nebraska at 4-0. Meanwhile, the Gophers drop down to 2-2 after back-to-back losses. And this might have been the turning point with a 3-0 stock for Michigan State.
We are seeing we
Great
struggle with it.
No more
here.
iron.
It's
over
looking,
for you, brother. It's
my
over
goodness.
for you, brother.
It's such a bad
over
situation.
for
No
you,
iron. You're
brother.
off stage. 2 blocks to
there
your
ain't
name.
no escape. It's over for you, brother.
And yeah,
And that's going to be Drewish picking up the 3.
As we said, it is Big Ten all the way down. You see Syracuse there. They're trying to hang on. But Michigan State and Nebraska, they're 4-0. The Cornhuskers had the bye this week. Minnesota and Kansas right there. This is a Minnesota squad I think a lot of people expected to challenge for the top. So after 2 straight losses, we'll see how they respond. Boise State there at 1-3. And then Ohio State and Baylor, they're both at the bottom. But we'll hear more about Ohio State here coming up. As we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back on PEC Match Point, we're going to hear from John. He's the esports manager the esports director, at The Ohio State. They're dominating in a couple titles, and he thinks they might be a sneaky up-and-comer in Rocket League and Smash. We'll hear all about him and what the Buckeyes have going forward coming up on PEC Match Point.
My friends know me as Derek, but I'm also Master Sergeant Raxter. This is my life in the Air National Guard.
Welcome back into PEC Match Point. It is time for the voices of the PEC. We're going to do it a little bit different this week. We're going to have a director joining us. But first, if you want more from the Power Esports Conference, head over to the official PEC website for everything you need. Power rankings, player profiles, predictions. We've even got some Valorant advanced stats that you definitely want to check out. Biggest matchup of the year. Stay informed, stay connected, and stay ahead of all things PEC. Go to pec.leagueos.gg for more information. We're into week 6 of the PEC, and only one school is leading in 2 separate titles and undefeated at that, and that is the Ohio State. Overwatch and Valorant, they're both 4-0. The Buckeyes coming off the bye, and joining us is the director of the Ohio State, John. How's it going, John? I mean, it's got to feel pretty good to have 2 undefeated squads right now.
Yeah, it's going great, Michael. And yeah, no, we're really fortunate to have just 2 amazing teams right now. All 4 of them are working hard, but hey, it's nice when after the first few weeks of the season that we have 2 of them that are sitting on top of the ranking. So no, it's been a great start to the year.
And let's zoom out a little bit before we zoom in on this year in particular, right? It's year 2 overall of the PEC. Ohio State's been in both year 1 and year 2. Just talk about that experience, what it's been like for you, what it's been like for the players being part of this sort of inaugural FBS esports conference.
I think for the players in particular, this has been a chance for them to really see college esports at another level. I know probably the biggest highlight last year for everyone in the entirety of the conference was the LAN event, but particularly for my students, it really kind of showed them just how far collegiate esports has come, and specifically the PEC really at the edge of it, pushing for innovation and the like, and they've loved it. So ever since last year, they have been excited for this. They've been working hard. Honestly, they're already chomping at the bit for Vegas and get back there in April. So it has been a really great experience. And the other great part of it is working with other institutions that have a similar mind for the potential and the importance that esports has at the college level.
And before we get into team by team, right, because as I talked about, there's a couple teams that are killing it. Your other teams are right there. What do you think the biggest thing that you guys learned from year 1 where, looking just at the standings, I was more of a bystander. You guys were more middle of the pack. Going into year 2, is there anything just in general you guys learned as a program to kind of really take things to the next level this year?
I think the big one is the teams have taken the offseason a lot more seriously. They've been focusing on not just playing the games and such that they enjoy, but really taking that at a professional level, with not only in the sense of how they approach practice, how do they approach the offseason. I know for a fact multiple teams, including the 2 that are sitting on top of the standings, spent a lot of time over the summer doing practices and really sitting down and going through their numbers to be ready for this year. And focus. So like we're playing less outside other tournaments and such. We're focusing much more on the PEC and just to be ready for our matches and to move forward. So like I think focus is probably the theme of the day if we're talking about that.
And let's, take your theme. Let's focus in on those teams. Let's start with Valorant, right? And again, it's weird for someone who maybe is used to normal college athletics to say the Ohio State was an underdog. You guys weren't getting a lot of votes. We had some casters on from different games. Ohio State's name came up in passing. You guys are 4-0 in Valorant right now. You look absolutely dominant. What was the biggest change from last year? Was it the transfer portal that we always hear about in other college athletics? Was it a new recruiting class? What do you think took this team to the next level?
Really, no. We brought back the vast majority of our players. Really only had one player from our main roster from last year graduate. And so it really does come back into that focus element of where the teams, after their experience at the LAN last year, they've sat down and really talked to themselves. And that's really been a theme of it is what are the goals we are trying to accomplish and how do we get there together has been a really big part of it. That's something with a lot of traditional collegiate esports. It's much more at times individualistic than traditional sports. But at least for our teams, is we saw, I think, a big mindset change, which has been great. And our teams across the board have really been developing that. And some have shown results sooner than others. But what I know is that by the time we get back to Vegas in April, I think all four of our teams are going to be ready to get going. But Valorant in particular, it's been amazing.
Yeah, again, there's some advanced stats on the PEC website. I don't know if you've seen it. Look at them, John. It is Ohio State, Ohio State, Ohio State. You guys are like 1, 2, and 4. Hamburger's a kid who's absolutely been killing it. And what's the mood of the team right now, right? You guys still have maybe your toughest test. You still play Boise later on in the year. What's the mood of the team right now sitting at 4-0 about to start week 6?
They're hungry. They are looking not just to Boise, but they're looking to Michigan State because they're definitely we want to take things back and really redeem ourselves after losing in the grand finals against Chris Bilski's Michigan State. So we got a couple of big ones coming up before the end of this fall split.
And let's go to Overwatch, and this is maybe the surprise title, right? You guys were not in the conversation. No offense to you, but the conversation started at Boise after last year, and it sort of ended at Boise. They haven't been the same Broncos this year. You guys are on top. The kill numbers you're putting up every game are absolutely insane. Talk to us about this Overwatch squad that right now is basically head and shoulders above everybody else in the PEC.
Yeah, we had some big returning players, in particular King Donut Grant coming back again on tank. He's just been doing a great job. Also a returner from years past, Colin, a.k.a. Mafia, has been doing a great job as well. But I think at least in my own mind, Lucas also goes by Lau. He is not only playing as coach, but he's also doing their for one of the first times where he's both coach, team manager, and player, which is not something I normally allow, but Lau's different. And he's been working extremely hard and has really been soul of the team of helping bring them together and improve on last year. He actually had been number 1 in North America for a little bit on the ranked server. Yeah, so he's really good. And honestly, the entire team is filled with some hidden gems, and that's why I'm not surprised they're doing well. But I just no one else had known what exactly was just underneath the surface waiting to come out, and now they've really had a chance to show, and they've continued to be hungry and continue practicing extensively outside of the PEC matches on top of everything else. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see how far they go in the LAN, because even last April, they outperformed what everyone was expecting. They expected us to finish like a 7th or 8th, but we still managed to win through and get to 5th, and that was a really good part to give us some momentum going into the fall.
And for this team, right, again, you guys came in as the underdog. How is the team approaching it, right? I know they've got a big match against Kansas this week. That's a 1-2 showdown, if I remember correctly. You've still got Boise State.
It is.
Is the team still saying, hey, we're the underdogs, don't ignore the record? Or are you guys sort of, I don't want to say you're getting cocky, but are you kind of saying like, hey, guys, we are legit. You need to start believing in us?
I'm always someone to take things cautiously and to make sure that, hey, we're working for every ounce. It doesn't matter if we're ranked first. We have to go into each week assuming that we are the underdog, and more importantly, putting in the requisite time to do that. And I know the team has been really good at doing so and setting goals for themselves that, regardless of who we're playing, we're striving for improvement. And so that has been a great thing to see from all of our squads. But Overwatch definitely, compared to last year, has come the farthest, arguably.
And I mean, and you touched on it, right? VALORANT and Overwatch, they're in first. Rocket League, they're there, right? I think they're fourth right now. There's a big logjam, 2-2, 2-3. Talk to me a little bit about the Rocket League program, right? Obviously, Baylor looks like they are, kind of the ones to lose. But how do you guys feel about Rocket League? I mean, Overwatch, as you said, came in last year, thought you were going to finish 7th, went to 5th. Is that Rocket League squad kind of embracing that this year? Like, hey, don't count us out just because we're not undefeated right now.
No, Rocket League is doing a great work, and they've really have been having a environment of improvement, and I think a lot of that's thanks to our new coach, actually. So over not too long ago, we hired Alex Buddy Chu, who was playing at Maryville beforehand. He just finished his master's up there this last year, and he has done a great job working with all of our returning players as well as some new up-and-comers. I'm honestly very excited to see what Rocket League not only is going to look like this coming April. I'm excited to see what it is fall 2026 because these players have been getting really excited and are looking forward to showcasing what they're capable of. And there's a few freshmen, sophomores that I know are good that just need to have enough time and a chance to really practice for them to be able to shine. And I can't wait to see when they get to hit the field finally and go. So I think we're lurking in the middle of the pack. Maybe it's a strategy, but we're going to get there in the end. It's just a matter of time.
And if you will, Coach, give us a name, right? What's that hot? Everybody knows in college athletics that hot shot freshman. What are they going to get in the game? Is there a name you can give us for Rocket League that we need to say, hey, if this kid gets in a PEC game, like watch out, this guy might be the next real deal?
There's two I have.
Okay.
So Cosmo and Shiny are two individuals in particular. I'm excited to see how they develop over the next couple of years. Shiny hasn't actually, I think, played in a match recently, but he came here when he was in, I remember him coming through with his parents actually in high school. And just hearing his parents even just talk about him and such. It's like you don't often have parents that are giving good qualitative feedback about shoutcasting or how they're playing in a match. And I remember that was my first time I ever met a parent that really reminded me of, in a positive light, like a wrestling parent kind of situation where it's like somebody that clearly has done their homework, understand what's going on. And I'm excited to see how he does once he finally gets back on the pitch. But also Cosmo, who's been doing amazing with, we have actually currently 3 rosters.
Wow.
Cosmo's been leading the 3rd one, and particularly because we wanted him to get that leadership experience and to get a chance to really lead a squad by himself, because he and some of our other ones, they're the future, right? And we have to give them those chances for leadership development. And I'm excited to see both of them in coming games, because you never know, hey, we might need to sub somebody in, and all of a sudden you see Cosmo or Shiny or one of our other players. And that's one of the best parts about this or any other activity, right? It's really getting a chance to see that overall progression and how hard work wins out in the end.
And we wrap things up with Smash, right? I mean, again, we're not even halfway through the year, right? So just because you're on a slow start doesn't mean your chances are necessarily done. Talk to us a little bit about the Smash program. I mean, what are you guys have a bright future in Rocket League? Or you feel the same way about Smash as well, or?
Oh yeah, no question. And funny enough, you're just taking my own notes. First thing was slow start. But actually, this is another team where we have a new coach that has been really doing a lot of work with our scrims, but also during our matches. His name's Steven Doorstop Smith. He's on the Cincinnati Fear. So he and was at one point number 1 in Ohio for Smash. Ooh. He has been doing amazing work with the team, getting them ready. And it has been a slow start, but for multiple of those matches, my teams, when they've finished, it's like, man, we were so close. We could have taken them if X, Y, or Z broke our way. And when they're that hungry and they're seeing where they can improve, I don't like to lose, but those are losses I can deal with as long as we're making progress and the team is really understands that they still have a long way to go and there's a lot of opportunities for them to improve and to show everyone just how skilled they are in the long run.
And I got to ask, because when you look at the standings, Smash is Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. Do you get any flack from the other coaches? Like, hey, what are you doing down there? We want to have this a Big Ten dominated game. What are you guys doing? Is there any of that?
No, not yet. But I can understand that perspective in more ways than one. And again, I think when we get to the LAN finally next April in Vegas, it'll be a bit different. But I will say, regardless, we're loving this new format. And I think that's actually, while the format, we think the format's great, it definitely has not helped us the most in a couple of these matches. But what we know is like, hey, we got to play to it. We know this is the best, like arguably the best format I've seen for Smash yet for team competition. But we'll get there. It's just a matter of time.
And I kind of want to expand on that, right? I've talked to Doc Haskell at Boise. They say they don't have any rivals in the PEC. Obviously, in standard college athletics, right, there's that big rival, right? A lot of schools will say, hey, if we lose every game but we beat our rival, we're happy with that. I know there's a certain team that you don't need to say that isn't in the PEC right now, that team up north. Is there a substitute, or is it we just want to beat everybody? Because I know there's a couple Big Ten teams maybe you're more familiar with. Does Ohio State have a rival in the PEC?
I would definitely say it's Michigan State. Not only are they from that state up north, of course, but we already have a history. Our Smash team is hungry to get more opportunities to face them. Of course, VALORANT, like we talked about earlier, that unfortunate 2-0 or it was best of 5, wasn't it? It was 3-0 loss in Vegas last April was something that, like we talked about, 4 of the 5 starters from last year's VALORANT team are back. They remember that. They don't ever want to have that happen again, and they are out for revenge. So that's why I'm really looking forward to not only the Boise match coming up, but really the week before, I think that's our Michigan State match, if I'm remembering correctly.
And a couple more questions, John, because you threw something in there that I am curious your thoughts. You talked about Shiny's parents coming in, right, and that parent connection. Just give us, what has it been like at Ohio State, right? Esports is still kind of growing. Ohio State's more seen as like a very dominant traditional sport campus. So what is sort of the feeling when you get recruits in, when you get parents in about esports at Ohio State?
What I'm always fascinated by is just, because I've been in this area for a while at this point, almost 8-9 years just on the collegiate side, not including the professional. And you've really seen a significant change from when I first started this, of where parents are just like, need to be convinced that this is a real thing and the school is actually giving scholarships, to now you have it where it's clear the parents are like, they're dialed in. They're looking at other schools. They're helping their students really kind of figure out what's the best opportunity, where they can get the best benefit for the work they have put in. And it's a game changer, and it really gives me a lot of hope just for where the activity is going in its future. Because once parents are buying in, that really is the key that unlocks the door to traditional athletics and what we see in some of the other activities. And so here at Ohio State, like we still have a lot of places to grow in more ways than one. But it to me says that we're on the right path. And one of the most important parts of that is making it so that our players can be out there and seen. And that's something the Power Esports Conference does very well, is be able to showcase the players, tell their stories, not just when they're at the LAN, but throughout the regular season, which, frankly, there are very few, if any, other conferences that can say that.
And we'll get you out of here on this, John. I understand from working with Boise, it takes a village, right? If you need to give any shout-outs, here's your chance. You've already shouted out some coaches, but if there's anybody else besides you behind the scenes making Ohio State tick the way they are, I'll give you the floor to kind of let everybody know who's doing everything to make the Buckeyes look pretty good in a lot of these titles this year.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate that a lot, Michael. Well, first, I'll say just in general, the Office of Student Life and the Recreational Sports Department here, they are our lifeline. They are who we call home here, right? We're a part of them, and they have been amazing supporters of the esports program since its inception and continue to be some of our biggest advocates on campus. Besides that, I got a big shout out production-wise to our broadcast team. We have some amazing volunteers, but also student workers that are part of it. Charlie, Patrick, and Josh in particular, who have been leading production and doing a great job of showcasing what all these players are doing and the like. And just in general to my student staff that is here that runs our esports facility 7 days a week. Those poor students are there a lot. And just the amount of work and effort and time they put in. And before I go on way too long, I'll say the team managers, because they put in a lot of time for whether it's finding scrims for these teams, taking care of all the little issues. We don't have League of Legends, but I have to at least mention our League of Legends team manager, David, who also shoutcasts pretty much every single one of our titles at some point, usually in a week, who has been doing a great job. And at some point, maybe they'll add League of Legends to PEC. I don't know. I might be a little biased.
Fingers crossed. I'm with you on that one. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But no, there's more I should remember, but at this point, I think I've gone on a little bit too long. But long story short, we have, it really is a village and a community, and that is a key element of what we're doing here. Is the way you get to sustainable esports is you don't forget the community that built it, and you always make sure they're part of it, because at the end of the day, that is what esports is. It's community.
John, we appreciate you joining the show. Good luck to the Buckeyes the rest of the year, and hopefully in Vegas you guys take home a few pieces of hardware, because you guys have been killing it so far this year. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Anytime, Michael. You have a good one. Thank you for having me.
As you heard from John, the Ohio State, they look very dominant, especially Valorant and Overwatch. But they've got a couple big matches. Speaking of, it's week 6 of the PEC, and it's time to find out what are the matches you need to watch, what are the stats you need to know. That's all coming up on PEC Match Point.
My friends know me as Derek, but I'm also Master Sergeant Raxter. This is my life in the Air National Guard.
Welcome back into PEC Match Point. Again, big shout out to John, the director of Ohio State's esports program. The Buckeyes been absolutely killing it this year in a couple titles, but they've got some games coming up this week that they're definitely going to want to make sure that they are prepared for as we go ready to look ahead to week 6. Again, big shout out to the Idaho Air National Guard making everything here happen at PEC Match Point. And let's take a look at what we've got on the docket for week 6 of PEC Rocket League. A couple of matchups that you definitely are going to make sure you tune in for. Baylor and Michigan State, they're going to meet. It's the runners-ups from last year, Michigan State, looking to stay with a retooled roster. They've only lost to Boise State. Baylor, though, has been running through everybody. A plus 39 goal differential this year for the Bears. Can the Spartans be the team to truly test them for the first time? We'll have to find out. Utah and Boise State meet in a battle for maybe west of the Rockies supremacy in the PEC. Boise State, only that one loss to Baylor so far. Utah hasn't had the really inaugural semester they've wanted in the PEC, but if the Utes can take down the defending national champs, anything is possible. Definitely want to make sure that you tune into this one. Syracuse and Minnesota meet as the Orange looking to rebound. They had a tough loss to Baylor. This Orange team, I think, is better than that record shows. At 2-3, they've given all of the top squads a run for their money. They're third in the league, by the way, in goal differential. So if they can keep pace, they might make a crazy run in the spring. Meanwhile, for Minnesota, that's an 0-4 team who is hungry. They're coming off a bye, looking to right the ship. And Ohio State and Kansas, they wrap up the week. The Jayhawks looking to, there's this big, as you can kind of see there, that logjam, 2-2, 2-3. The Jayhawks and Ohio State kind of battling for what could be that 4th place spot and maybe sort of separate from the rest of the pack. Go on to Overwatch. This is a couple of massive ones. Utah, Boise State. This is massive, right? Utah, they've won 2 in a row. Boise State's the defending champs, and they're at 1-2. Could they suffer a 3rd loss at the start of November? That would be absolutely wild. Ohio State and Kansas, this is a battle for the top spot in the PEC. The Buckeyes, 4-0 coming off the bye. Kansas looks very dominant. The Jayhawks just took down Boise State, as we saw earlier in the show. And these two, by the way, they top the league in about every single stat you have for PEC Overwatch. They're 1st and 2nd in map wins. They're 1-6 in individual kills scattered out throughout the roster. Must-watch game if you're a PEC Overwatch fan. And then Syracuse and Minnesota, they'll conclude the week in a battle for 3rd place. Both schools sit at 2-1. Syracuse at 3-1. They're hoping to keep pace with Ohio State as the Buckeyes right up there at the top. Baylor and Nebraska, they both have byes looking to shake off rough starts to the year. Week 6 in Valorant, this could be trap games. You got to make sure you win these games for some of these squads as they look to push in November, remaining on top. As we start there, Ohio State and Kansas, they're going to start things up. Ohio State, they look super, super hot right now. We'll get more on them in a little bit. Utah and Boise State, this is a 2nd and 3rd place matchup. The Broncos are undefeated, yet to drop a map. They're trying to stay up with Ohio State. Utah, winners of 3 in a row. They're hoping Superman can have another heroic performance, averaging 19.2 kills a game. Syracuse and Minnesota, they'll meet. Both teams looking to turn around. Unfortunate starts to PEC fall. This could be an excellent defensive series, by the way. Stomp for Syracuse, some for Minnesota. First and third, respectively, in bomb defusals per game. So bomb sites got to be well protected. And then Baylor and Michigan State square off the defending champion Spartans. They're in 4th place right now with a 3-1 start, but they're taking on a Baylor squad, as I mentioned. It is PEC kill leader Truth Messenger at 1-4 for Baylor. This team can make noise no matter who they play. But if we're talking stats, we got to take a look at Ohio State and just how dominant Hamburger has been this year for the Buckeyes. We take a look by the numbers. We do a deep dive here, go through these a little bit. His cast at 81%. That is 81% of his rounds. He scored either a kill, assist, traded off, or survived the whole round. He is 3rd in the PEC for that. Damage done delta, that's how much more or less damage you do per round than you take. 67.8 is absolutely insane. 2nd in the PEC there. His ADR, average damage per round, 193. Only 2 players in the PEC sit above 190. He is one of them. And by the way, when I say he's not first, he's only trailing his teammates in these stats. That is how good Ohio State Overwatch has been. He does lead the league with a 1.9 KD, and he's a big reason why the Buckeyes are off to their 4-0 start. And we go to Smash to round the week out, and once again, all of our eyes are on Minnesota. Ohio State and Kansas, they're going to kick things off. The Buckeyes, as we heard from John, are that team that maybe start to rise up. This could be a great chance against a 2-2 Kansas team, as Kansas is really trying to make sure they kind of sneak into that top 4. Michigan State and Baylor meet. They're on opposite ends of the standings. The Spartans, they're at 4-0. They're in first place, yet to drop a series. Baylor hoping for that spark, and if they pull off an upset, that would send shockwaves through the PEC. And once again, Minnesota, their 3rd straight, really must-win game. They're now all the way down to 4th place after starting the year 2-0. They're trying to avoid a 3rd straight loss as they take on a Syracuse team that really is the only reason that Smash has not become a Big Ten-dominated title. Nebraska, they're at 4-0. They're going to get their 2nd straight bye, and Boise State, coming off that loss to Kansas, will look to regroup and maybe surge ahead at 1-3. Week 6 of the PEC, as I said, there are massive matchups. Kansas, Ohio State, Overwatch, you want to make sure you tune into that. I think if you're a Smash fan, Minnesota and Syracuse definitely has a big one as well. For Valorant, I'm telling you, you have to watch the Baylor Bears play. Their record might not be the greatest, but Truth Messenger is putting up insane stats. Again, leads the PEC in kills per game. I think he's averaging almost 23 kills a game. Absolutely insane. But again, it's the PEC. Every single game is absolutely electric. You want to make sure you don't miss out on it. And if you need any more, you want to stay up to date on the PEC, make sure you go over to pec.leagueos.gg. It's got everything you need there. Week 6 is shaping up to be an excellent week as we turn the calendar to November. We're almost halfway through the year. Teams have got to start making some moves. Big shout out to the Idaho Air National Guard for bringing you PEC Match Point every week. We'll be back next week for Week 7.